Let's talk about the interest rate environment more broadly, shall we?
Yeah.
Because it seems a lot of people took the good news of the jobs JOLTS report yesterday in session as a chance to question how quickly rates go up in the United States, didn't they? You, I think, in common with Bob, don't see the Fed moving in September.
Well, they don't need to move, is my view. Whether they move or not is
Thank you. Yes, for clarifying.
I agree with that, but and there's many moving parts. There's mixed domestic data. It's at best mixed. There seems to be this idea that the data's getting better, but I'm not at all convinced. In fact, I think the data dependency kind of traps the Fed, because I don't know how they hike with inflation on the verge of a negative print and real GDP much less than they forecast a year ago.
ISM heading back below 50, right?
Yeah, none of it makes any sense. But then there's the international backdrop, because about 5 or 6 weeks ago, it was clear that things were deteriorating in Asia, particularly China, and they've got much worse than then. So the rate cut in New Zealand, the downgrade in Brazil, Japan's data challenges, all of this says that other countries are feeling the pressure from the China slowdown. So is it the right time to hike? Absolutely no. If they did something, maybe they could mitigate the risks by maybe indicating where terminal value might be. That is something they've got in their top pocket. The Bank of England's
And what
done
will that mean
already.
exactly?
Well, it's just saying a bit more about the path, because we're told about this path, but no one really understands. If you know what the destiny is, so if for example, 2% was the terminal value, then you could draw a line between 0 and 2 and figure out the pace.
That would make life too simple,
Well,
wouldn't it?
it's a means of hiking rates, but trying to not have an impact, so it's kind of pointless, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so don't do it.
So how concerned are you about the global economy then now compared to where we were in August? Do you think things have deteriorated
I think things have
for you?
got worse. And as I said, there's so many different factors at work. When it comes to the Treasury market, the domestic data is mixed, but the flows, because of the impact of China, are quite conflicting and confusing. Clearly there's a private sector flow out of the country, and you can see the reserve numbers going down very sharply. But does that mean there's selling of treasuries? Actually, no. I mean, there may be some evidence of it, and some of the spread moves at the front end, looking at swaps and what have you, suggest something's going on. But I guess that the flows are going somewhere. So when the money comes out of a country, it has to go somewhere. And it's not obvious it's all going to Manhattan real estate. So it seems to me that there's a private sector flow that could be offsetting.
One of the things I'd heard was that the intervention, the selling of treasuries that's gone on, is to raise dollar cash.
Yeah.
So that as and when the corporate sector who's borrowed dollar cash can't refi or roll over, there's domestic dollars there.
Yeah, exactly.
That can be shifted over.
The relationship that we see is that the RRR rate is cut to inject liquidity, and that money has to come from somewhere, and therefore it's the reserve.
So if we're going to see any more stimulus from the Chinese authorities, it'll be in that form. It'll be a cut to the RRR, so allowing banks to lend more, essentially.
Yeah, don't forget that stands at 18%, which is a very high, very EM type of rate. That could go down quite a bit.
And with that as the backdrop from China, you're concerned. How much are you concerned about Japan and whether they need to see more policy action in Japan?
Caveat number one, I'm not the house view on Japan, but in terms of my view, look, I think the Bank of Japan will go again, and I think they may surprise us and go again this year. I'm not sure whether QE is an answer to any of these problems, but I think if we're looking at alternative options, I don't see many in Japan, and I think Abe-san is so committed to Abenomics that I think Kuroda will have to go again, I think.
More QE, do you think, from the Bank of Japan, briefly?
Well, I'm not so sure. This is one of those ones where it doesn't work, and doing more of the same, hoping that it's going to work, it's kind of perverse, isn't it?